4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, we're going to be back with Tom Fitton in just a moment, and you're not going to want to miss this interview. Lots to talk about with him. The latest from the Middle East is that not only does Israel say Hamas has kidnapped one of their soldiers in that ceasefire-breaking homicide bomb attack where a Hamas terrorist came out of a tunnel, blew himself up, killing 2 Israeli soldiers, and they took one back through the tunnel. Hamas is denying that they have that soldier. President Obama at his press conference earlier said that Hamas must give the soldier back if they want this to progress in any peaceful manner. He also blamed Hamas for violating the ceasefire, which makes one wonder if the media will stop saying that there are conflicting claims of who violated the ceasefire. And that's where we stand right now. And, of course, Israel doing all it can, going house to house in the area of which the soldier was abducted, looking for him. And we hope that they get him. And we'll see what happens and how this all progresses. Of course, the U.S. and John Kerry say they're not giving up on trying to forge a new ceasefire. All right, Tom Fitton about to join us. And as we go to him, I want us all to take a look at this, and then we'll talk about it with Tom.
Then Lois Lerner responds, quote, "So we don't need to worry about alien terrorists." That typo you see is hers. She did that on her BlackBerry. "We don't need to worry about alien terrorists. It's our own crazies that will take us down." Is this what the Republicans are looking for, that smoking gun to say Barack Obama's Justice Department cannot investigate this, you need a special outside counsel, or is this just another breadcrumb on the trail of weirdness at the IRS?
You know, it's hard to say if this email alone ends up being a smoking gun, but what it certainly does is it continues to keep this issue alive for Republicans.
Well, of course, she also called conservatives crazies and a-holes. Just wonderful coming from someone in her position. Joining us now is Tom Fitton, the president of the wonderfully marvelous organization Judicial Watch. And I say that with all, not blowing smoke here, Tom, because you guys have gotten emails and information out of the courts and through the courts out of the IRS and other organizations that otherwise, unfortunately, we never would have seen. So congratulations on all you do. But first, were you shocked or not at the revelation of the latest Lois Lerner emails?
No, it's just more of the same. It's pretty clear that she tends to be liberal in her outlook. Anyone who's looked at her career and knows her personally, as best I could tell, perceives her to be of the typical Washington liberal class that is skeptical of conservatism and those who promote it.
Yeah, it's one thing to be skeptical and conservative, but to put down in an email, crazies and a-holes about conservatives when you're in charge of what
That's
you're
right.
in charge of.
I may be being too charitable.
Yeah. All right. So again, you agree that we need a special prosecutor here because the Obama campaign contributor who's in charge of the Justice Department investigation is probably never going to get anything accomplished, correct?
Well, there's nothing being done otherwise. I don't know if a special prosecutor is going to guarantee a certain outcome in terms of actual even prosecution, but we know nothing's being done. I mean, there's no public evidence there's any real investigation going on. There have been a few FBI meetings I've heard about, but they didn't sound to me very substantial. The IRS commissioner testified last week about this email scandal. He wasn't aware of any Department of Justice investigation.
I know, it's pretty scary. So what would you like to see done?
You know what? The American people, frankly, are going to have to rely on groups like Judicial Watch to try to ferret out the truth and maybe get the information out there that causes either Congress or the Justice Department to do things they otherwise don't want to do. And in the case of the Justice Department, which is to seriously do a prosecution that is independent and that is accountable to the American people. The problem with having this person who is allegedly involved in the investigation, Ms. Bosserman, it's her idea, the fact that she's a big donor to President Obama.
Right.
So, you know, we've sued for her records to find out what she's actually working on. Just give us her hours, you know, because they're supposed to track their hours by project. We can't even get that from the Department of Justice. That tells you something.
All right, well.
We can't trust the Justice Department. You know, one of the big scandals, Steve, about this, forget about everything we're talking about. The Justice Department is a major issue, and its politicization, its failure of leadership, and frankly, its undermining of the rule of law. And it's I tell you what, if you're looking for a locus of evil in terms of corruption and public policy in this administration, you can't do much better than the Justice Department.
Okay, having said that, let's move on to the Justice Department. I believe that what the Congress held Eric Holder, the Attorney General, in contempt for was on the Fast and Furious issue. Now, there's been a court ruling because of Judicial Watch that I believe will lead to the release of documents that have been withheld by the Justice Department regarding Fast and Furious. Explain what happened and what you hope to find.
And we've been investigating Fast and Furious for years. Congress wanted the Justice Department to turn over documents about why they were lied to about Fast and Furious. This fight was not about Fast and Furious generally. It was about the lies about Fast and Furious that the Justice Department told Congress for several months, almost a year. That's why they held Holder in contempt. They typically, if you're held in contempt by Congress, you're supposed to be prosecuted. But Obama fixed that by asserting executive privilege in an unprecedented way over these documents. Justice doesn't prosecute you if you're withholding documents pursuant to executive privilege. So Congress has to go to court and fight over this. So what did we do? We said to the Justice Department, give us under the Freedom of Information Act all the documents that you're withholding from Congress under this executive privilege issue. So we have our traditional FOIA lawsuit. The Department of Justice comes in and says, oh, Judge, you can't allow this to go forward because we're fighting it out with Congress and it might interfere with that litigation. The judge bought into it for 16 months. We went back again just recently and said, enough is enough. This is going nowhere fast. Justice Department effectively wants to delay this forever. In the least, make them provide us a list of documents that they think are exempt from disclosure so we get a handle on what we're fighting about. And the judge says, okay, we're going to lift the stay. That list is what Congress has been fighting about for 2 years. They don't even know what the documents are. So what it took Holder, they had to hold Holder in contempt. They've been in a case for 2 years that's going nowhere, and it took our FOIA lawsuit to get this basic information out that's now going to come out by October 1st that Congress is still fighting about and probably will never get resolved, certainly in any time in the near future. It's an incredible development, an incredible, dare I say it, credit to Judicial Watch that we're able to kind of get to the crux of the matter in a way that Congress has been unable to do.
I couldn't agree with you more. Now, in the minutes we have remaining, let's talk about the release of documents that you have found that constitute conflict of interest between the State Department under Hillary Clinton.
Well, this is a big deal. You know, when she was hired, there was worries, what's Bill doing, and how's it going to conflict with what she is going to be doing as Secretary of State? And they said, oh, don't worry, we're going to have a rigorous conflict of interest review. So we asked for the documents about this review after she had been in office for several years. She left. They still refused to give us the documents. We had to sue. And what did we find? We did an examination of these documents with the Washington Examiner and our own Micah Morrison, who is an experienced investigative reporter, our chief investigative reporter. And we found that there were 215 speeches that they were reviewed that Bill Clinton gave at various entities, both foreign and domestic, and you might imagine the foreign ones of great interest, that generated $48 million in money for the Clinton machine. And they only said no to one deal he had. What a racket they were running.
Well, okay, so I mean, this is incredible stuff, is it not? And what does it tell you? I mean, what does it tell you? Whose feet have to be held to the fire here? Hillary? Bill? Both?
Obama, too. Supposedly the White House had a say in how these things were being reviewed. There was nothing that Clinton was doing. He could go and speak anywhere that would represent a conflict potentially, or get money from anyone, practically speaking, that would represent a conflict for the United States government and the Secretary of State. You know, when Bill's earning money personally, you know, they are married. Usually that's inures to the personal benefit of the spouse. Mrs. Clinton, incredible. That's your ethics. These are the ethics waivers. You know, only in Washington do they even have a process, quote, for waiving ethics. Washington is out of control. You know, it seems to me when you look at this record, when you look at these records, that the Clintons, like they have done with previous public offices, use their offices to line their pockets and abuse the public trust. They turn what is supposed to be, you know, one of the most important offices in our constitutional system, the Secretary of State, old as the nation itself, into a racket. Just like what Bill did with the presidency, it looks like Mrs. Clinton was doing with the State Department. We all debate how good of a person, how good of a Secretary of State was Hillary Clinton in terms of policy and what did she accomplish? We know what she was up to. Now these documents show that's what her role is as Secretary of State, or was a Secretary of State, was to grease the wheels for the money machine that she's now personally benefiting from and using seemingly as a launching pad for a future presidential campaign.
Tom, shocking, well, not shocking, but stunning revelations, let's put it that way. And again, kudos to you at Judicial Watch, and thank you, Tom, for your time. We really appreciate it, sir.
Hey, Steve, thanks for covering these important stories.
They are very important. Thank you for doing your work on it. All right, folks, so we're coming back. Amazing, just amazing. Is the media going to hold Hillary's feet to the fire on this? Don't hold your breath. All right, folks, up next, National Review board member Ian Tuttle. Don't go away.